Folks, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show here in Tucson. It's important for me to support my peers as they get on the bandstand and attempt to find their own individual sound. I get a chance tonight to see some cats who are going to blow this place apart, get people up, dancing. Cheese on drums, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Thank you for having me.
It's an honor. I want you to talk a little bit about tonight, the venue itself, and ultimately how are you going to try to play with dynamics, and also how did you learn to play with dynamics in your life? Because a lot of modern music today, more recorded, but they dial it up at 10 and it never goes down.
Sure, right.
Talk riff on that.
Sure, yeah. I mean, the old this one goes to 11.
The Spinal Tap, yeah.
Feel that so much, and especially as a drummer, I guess that's the biggest complaint, right? The guy plays too loud. Dynamics are so important, especially in a bar situation, and I'm super lucky to have fallen into this gig pretty much out of dumb luck. Right place, right time. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
Branch Rickey said luck is the residue of design. So
yeah.
You're absolutely right. But no, talk a little, what was the first gig that you were able to be like, wow, your ears grew the most on the bandstand?
Wow, that's a phenomenal question. I play music with a touring jam band called Frusciante. And we are from Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yeah.
I'm new here in Tucson.
Oh, welcome, baby. Welcome, baby.
And I love it.
No. It's an honor to have you here. I'm so glad you're here.
But that...
talk about that evolution, because you were playing a lot of upholstered sewers and bars and things.
Oh, man, and touring around in odd spots and taking the good gigs and the bad.
Right.
But I do remember actually, it's a phenomenal question. The distinct moment where I remember playing with dynamics is we were blessed at a music festival called the Music on the Mothership, where I played with a guitar player named John Kadlicek. And
dude, I haven't gotten to him yet. A badass.
John's a great musician.
He sat in with you guys, or how did that happen?
So he was an artist at large, and
of course he is.
Our guitar player had an accident. He actually had gotten hit by a car. Super crazy.
Jeez, all
He's
right?
Totally fine now.
Good.
And he did play that gig, but he was obviously super limited.
He played the gig.
He played the gig. It's rock and roll to its finest. But I reached out to John. We play a couple Dead songs, and he's obviously always been a hero of mine in a certain way.
Sure.
And so he was super open to playing with us. And originally he was just going to play Althea, and that was my favorite Dead song, but that was going to be it.
I dig.
And but he asked, he's like, hey, can we play the whole set together? And I'm like, shock and aw. But
so he was horny to play.
He was horny to play, and you got to touch it the right way sometimes, right? We're gonna go down that metaphoric bender there. But
so you wanted what other tunes did you break out with Kadlicek?
It was all original Frusciante songs.
Dig.
So it was very important for us, full circle in the conversation and the question, for us to play with dynamics and purpose.
Yes. Not
just to wail and everyone show off their chops. Play the songs for the right reason. And I remember we were playing inside, and as luck would have it again, it started raining. So all the people from the outdoor stages came in and got to experience the show with us. And I felt like there was a lot on the line. And
it was the pulse was there.
The pulse was, and it was great, and dynamically, I go back and listen to that song. Thankfully, we have it recorded on archive.org. You can search Frusciante, Music on the Mothership.
That's FUR space CAD.
I'm glad you asked me. It's PHERKAD. It's a star in the Ursa Minor constellation.
I dig.
So,
okay,
yeah.
Archive.org.
Yes, archive.org. But that was, so I love that question. That was the first moment for me where I realized musical conversation, right?
That's and so I want to talk about tonight, because my favorite music, the only thing I play for my daughters in the car is live early 80s Grateful Dead. It is off the rails.
Brent Midland.
Brent is near and dear. I've interviewed John Perry Barlow, I've interviewed Bob Weir, I've done a lot of heavy interviews, but I wanted you to talk, like a lot of people give Phil grief because he's not technically he's not necessarily a pocket bass player. Like if you listen to O'Teal now, and I will not go to Dead Incorporated, but if you listen to O'Teal, it sounds like John Conn with the Dead. And so my question is, can CP play like Lesh? Because that man is the funkiest cat. And talk about why, because you know what, the more I listen to, I only listen to live Dead, early 80s. And it's really Phil's placement of notes that makes the music. I mean, the drummers, they're all amazing musicians. But he's so unique. And I wanted you to talk about that because a lot of people say, yeah, Phil, not a great bass player.
Well, they're wrong. That's fine. And you know what Jerry always said, people who love the Grateful Dead, it's like people who like black licorice. They really love black licorice.
Jerry, I have an interview with Jerry where he said Phil was the smartest person he ever met in his life. Phil, I mean, I love him. I'm talking more like, how's CP gonna split the difference?
So, great question. You know, when I met Chris, his band, he was playing with a prog rock band called Tongs.
Dude, Chris Pena, Tom Beach.
Yeah, and I don't know if that project plays anymore, but I remember being really struck by the musicianship. So I'd always been, especially when I moved to Tucson, I'm like, I gotta get Chris on with me at some point when COVID kind of, hits that recess button. Like, that was my big goal. I think we played a couple Dead tunes last time we got together. And he really did some cool ass stuff, but I guess he's been diving deeper into the Grateful Dead, diving into the Phil Lesh biography. So what I know about Chris is that he can throw down with the best of them, he's able to emulate people's styles and still make it his own. With that classic dip he does.
Dude, I mean, it's just
so.
Yeah,
I believe that for the people who are going to get to see this guy play Grateful Dead music, you'll be blown away.
He threw it out. He's like, yeah, you might be into this, man, because that's where it lies with me. Like, I also wanted you to talk about the idea of, again, we talked about dynamics earlier, but the best musicians, the music that I love, that I will support, and that I want to go see are people that are playing beyond what they know.
Sure.
And in your practice, when you shed, are you playing beyond? Like, if you listen to Sonny Rollins or Jim Hall practice, those cats are like sold. It sounds beautiful, right? They're just on it,
Yeah.
And so, like, I just wanted you to talk to younger cats, because some cats think it's all about paradiddles, rudiments, sort of technique.
Yeah.
When in reality, that can get you caught in a kind of a stagnant way. What's your practice approach?
So I like to do a little bit of everything. Obviously, I believe that practice with a purpose is a big thing. I've never been somebody to go and shed 3-4 hours at a time. It's just not what works for me. At a certain point.
You're not going to shut in a room for 8 hours.
Yeah, at a certain point, you just lose focus. So I'm a big proponent of like the hardcore hours, the 30 minutes that mean something. Rudiments are great, but one of my mentors is a guy, Dave Watts, from the band The Motet. And,
dude. Yeah. Who's in that band?
Garrett
Joey
Sayers,
Porter.
Joey Porter. Yeah. So there's a lot of cats, but that was a dude that like laid down the pocket, the idea of the groove, right? So the most important thing is the groove. Although I like to seek areas outside of that.
Well, but that's what's so magical about tonight.
Yeah.
Because if you really think about it, got an audience here. The importance is the hypnotic music comes from being able to just sit on that groove.
Yeah.
But then to be able to play those polyrhythms outside of it that allow descarga or spiritual release.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I'm here. Like, I have to get off tonight.
You will. And you will, because the musicianship
I know
is out of control.
I saw him, like, this cat, I'm like, he's smiling ear to ear. Final question for you.
Yes.
We could go down the street right now and ask 20 people what their definition of the word jazz is.
Sure.
So I don't like labels in music, but if you were to describe to me, how can you get to a place where you get out of your own way to be able to play spiritual music?
Improvisational music is communication. And one thing that I've always prided myself in being, and I don't want to toot my own horn, but
It's your interview.
I love to communicate with people, however that is, whether it's through music, whether it's through words, whether it's through nonverbal communication. So jazz to me is just that organic communication, and when it really hits is when all the musicians can kind of speak that same language. It's hard to do. But when you can find those guys that can, you've got something magical. And I think for me as a jam band musician, that's what I'm seeking. Every time I play is to have that moment where you're not trying, you're fluidly communicating with your brothers or sisters on stage, and
You're in the flow.
and that's it. Flow state.
But in this band at this point, you would say trust is still being cultivated to get to a really sonically.
This
deep
is
level.
our second time playing
Oh
together.
my God, dude!
So,
Dude, take the training wheels off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, the thing is that we all have that wonderful understanding that each of us is here to play with each other.
That's right.
That's what it's
I
all
love
about.
that, man.
Yeah. There's
Divine
no
radiance.
and for some reason we found three of us together that are very powerful musicians.
Now,
but
who's the other? Who's the third? I'm not hip to the third cat.
Mike Roberts, he plays an extra ticket. So
Now, is he local cat?
he's in Phoenix, and he plays in one
Dude,
of
I love how
the
you're bringing
best.
the magnetism down here.
I'm lucky. I'm lucky that
I wanna
people
be very
for
clear,
some
you're gonna
reason
have-
want to hang out with
They
me.
want it, well, because you're a communicator.
Yeah.
Yo, geez, man. Let's have a ball tonight. Just remember, we take what we do seriously. We don't take ourselves that seriously. Much
Rock and
love
roll.
to you, man.
Thank you so much for having me. What a pleasure. Everybody
Jake
be good
Feinberg
out
show.
there.
We'll see you later.